Rain drums against the windshield with a cold, relentless rhythm, but Adrian barely hears it. He sits motionless in his parked car outside the towering luxury hotel, the dashboard clock glowing past midnight. His phone rests in his trembling hands, screen flashing the live GPS location of his wife, inside one of the rooms above him, even though she told him she was out of town on a girl's trip. His wedding ring lies in his palm instead of his finger, the biting metal digging into his skin every time his fist tightens. His breath shudders in and out, shallow, uneven, as though his lungs have forgotten how to function. The world outside is muted and blurred by rain, headlights streaking like broken memories. He stares at the hotel entrance, fighting the war between denial and truth, heartbreak and instinct. Finally, numb and shaking, he opens the car inside the hotel. Every step feels heavier than the last. The elevator walls reflect his pale face, his terrified eyes refusing to blink. The soft hotel music does nothing to soothe the storm inside him. When the doors open onto the hallway, his heartbeat becomes a roar in his ears. He walks toward the suite door slowly, every footstep echoing with dread. Then he stops, not by choice, but because his body refuses to move further. The door is half open. Adrian remains still, almost afraid to breathe, as laughter drifts out. His wife's voice, light and carefree, a tone she never uses with him anymore. Through the gap, he sees her wrapped around another man, kissing him with a hunger and joy that strikes deeper than violence ever could. Adrian doesn't storm in. His face doesn't twist in rage. He just stands there, silently breaking, until he finally forces himself to walk away at that door. Adrian drives home in a dead, mechanical silence. No tears, no shouts, no music, no thoughts loud enough to feel. The betrayal has numbed him rather than destroyed him, leaving his body moving while his soul feels absent. When he reaches his study, he doesn't pour a drink or punch a wall. Instead, he sits before his computer with frightening calm and starts downloading 8 months of phone logs, deleted messages, and bank statements. Every click exposes another page of their secret world. Hotel bookings, intimate texts, burner numbers, suspicious expenses. He reads it all without blinking, emotion buried under ice. Then a name appears, a name he knows too well. Daniel Reeves, the same ruthless businessman who once tried to buy out Adrian's company. The man who promised that if Adrian didn't sell, he would destroy him. Suddenly, everything fits like an evil puzzle. The betrayal wasn't just romantic Adrian, and Nora's story began like a fairy tale everyone rooted for. They met in college. Two broke dreamers sharing cheap coffee, late-night study sessions, and promises whispered under streetlights. Nora came from poverty, raised by a struggling single mother, always afraid of returning to a life without choices. Adrian understood that fear, because he too grew up without much, and vowed that if he ever earned success, he would give Nora the world. And he did. Years later, after building his company from scratch, he worked night and day to give her everything she never had. A beautiful home, stability, security, comfort. At first, she looked at him like he was her miracle. But slowly, painfully, her eyes shifted. Once luxury became normal, gratitude faded. Nora stopped wanting comfort and started wanting status. She stopped wanting love and started wanting to be seen. See, it was strategic. Flashbacks reveal how the shift happened slowly, almost invisibly. After Adrian became successful, Nora began pushing him into a world he never wanted. Glamorous parties filled with high-profile celebrities, plastic smiles, empty conversations, and social climbing disguised as networking. Adrian hated the noise, the arrogance, the forced laughter. But Nora craved it. She clung to wealthy circles, obsessed with becoming someone admired, someone envied. When Adrian tried to decline an invitation or skip a party after long work hours, she didn't shout. She used something sharper than anger, manipulation. "If you love me, you'd support my dreams," she would say. Or, "You're not ambitious enough socially. Don't embarrass me." Each sentence chipped away at him. Believing love meant sacrifice, he kept bending until he nearly snapped. And each time, Nora smiled as though she had won a negotiation rather than shared a marriage. Adrian's greatest flaw wasn't weakness. It was loyalty. He always chose reason over emotion, believing that if he worked harder, loved harder, and sacrificed more, everything would eventually balance out. Ethan, his best friend and lawyer, saw the truth long before Adrian did. Ethan warned him repeatedly that Nora didn't love the man. She loved the lifestyle that came with him. But Adrian refused to believe it. Even now, after witnessing betrayal with his own eyes, he doesn't confront her immediately. He is hurt, but he is not reckless. If he explodes too soon, Nora walks away with half of everything, and Daniel Reeves walks away untouched. So Adrian turns his pain into strategy. He begins preparing quietly, calculating his next steps not with emotion, but with precision. This time, love will not blind him. He will not lose everything. Not to Nora, not to Daniel. The silence of the study feels suffocating as Adrian continues digging through the recovered phone data, tracing the digital footprint of betrayal with ice-cold precision. The time-stamped messages make the truth undeniable. The affair didn't start recently. It has been 8 months. The evidence reads like a logbook of humiliation. There are hotel confirmations, secret video calls, encoded messages, and private jokes at his expense. But the message that shatters him is short and vicious. Daniel is real man material. Adrian is too soft to ever be ruthless. Hours pass without him moving, tears never forming. Because even pain has frozen solid. That sentence keeps echoing in his skull like a hammer. After everything he sacrificed, softness is what she despised. He realizes suddenly and brutally, Daniel doesn't love Nora. Daniel is using her hunger for status, to break Adrian emotionally before forcing him into a business buyout. Betrayal wasn't accidental. It was strategic. Hours later, Nora returns home with the same bright, warm smile she has practiced for years. She wraps her arms around Adrian and whispers, "I miss you," kissing him like everything is perfect. Adrian's stomach twists, but his face doesn't reveal anything. He hugs her back. He laughs at her jokes. He makes her favorite dinner. Later, they make love, and Nora has no idea that every touch is burning him alive inside. His mind screams, but his voice plays the part of the affectionate husband. The story lingers on the agony of pretending. Adrian staring at the ceiling when Nora sleeps on his chest, his eyes wet but silent, gripping his own hand under the table so he doesn't tremble, forcing a smile every time she calls him baby. The performance is suffocating. A man dying quietly while pretending to live happily. The next evening, Nora takes a shower and forgets to log out her email on the shared laptop. Adrian sits down harmlessly to order office supplies and freezes. A thread of emails opens automatically between Nora and Daniel. Their plan is written plainly, like instructions for a robbery. They discuss how to push Adrian emotionally until he snaps. Anger, violence, shouting. Anything that would void the prenup and give Nora legal ground to take everything. They even laugh about how the soft ones break the loudest. It becomes clear. Nora doesn't just want out. She wants to destroy him financially so Daniel can take his company unopposed. Adrian reads every word breath steady, expression unreadable. Then he leans back slowly, eyes ice cold, and whispers to himself, not sad, not heartbroken, but dangerous. You should have chosen someone who knew how to play the game. For the first time in months, Adrian finally feels control returning to his veins. Not comfort, not relief, but purpose. The revenge doesn't begin with confrontation. It begins with silence. He hires a private investigator and an information forensics team, paying extra for absolute discretion, while Nora sleeps curled in his arms, whispering fabricated I love yous. A war room of specialists digs into Daniel Reeves' finances. The findings are worse than expected. Daniel has been laundering money through overseas shell properties, falsifying asset valuations to manipulate investors, and illegally concealing bankruptcy warnings. The empire he flaunts so proudly is a financial corpse wearing luxury skin. Adrian doesn't rush. He takes careful notes, gathers documents, timestamps, names, and contracts. Then he begins contacting Daniel's cheated investors, one by one, not revealing the affair, not revealing his endgame. He presents himself simply as someone who believes Daniel Reeves is ready to collapse. They listen to A.T. Home. The contrast is emotional torture. Nora turns shockingly affectionate. She brings him breakfast in bed, kisses him constantly, compliments him publicly, and clings to his arm at events. It isn't love. It's manipulation, and Adrian recognizes every tactic because he's read their emails. She thinks she's winning. Every time he smiles back, every time he says, "I love you too," every time he pulls her close in front of people, he can feel the lie ripping something inside him. The dinner table becomes a battlefield of hidden pain. She laughs and tells stories while Adrian listens with an expression so calm it's terrifying. In bed, she runs her fingers along his chest believing he is hers, while in his mind, she's already gone. The emotional tension builds like a stretched wire. Adrian's performance is flawless, and Nora never suspects that behind those warm eyes, he is dismantling her world brick by brick. The slow burn climax of this phase arrives at a high-profile business partnership dinner. The room is filled with polished elites, cameras, journalists, investors, exactly the world Nora worships. And in the center of it all stands Daniel Reeves, radiating arrogance. Adrian walks up to him with a perfect smile and extends his hand. To everyone watching, it looks like mutual respect between two successful businessmen. But behind their polite expressions, the real battle crackles. Adrian knows everything. Daniel has no idea. Their handshake becomes a quiet opening shot of a war no one else sees. That same week, Adrian begins acquiring Daniel's mortgage assets through multiple shell companies, quietly buying pieces of Daniel's kingdom without his knowledge. Property by property, loan by loan, debt by debt, Daniel's empire slowly becomes Adrian's. By the time anyone notices, it will be too late, and the two men walk away smiling. The investment conference is designed to be Daniel Reeves' crowning moment, a televised spectacle of power and prestige. Celebrities, CEOs, politicians, and reporters flood the dazzling ballroom. Cameras flash while Daniel takes center stage, announcing the largest and safest investment opportunity of the decade. The crowd applauds on cue, but in the middle of the celebration, Adrian steps forward, invited to the stage as a respected business ally, or so everyone believes. He takes a microphone, thanks the audience politely, and then flips the world upside down with a single sentence. Before anyone invests a cent, they deserve the truth. Screens behind him suddenly shift from Daniel's presentation to confidential documents, bank statements, shell company charts, and signatures. Adrian reads each accusation with perfect clarity. Money laundering, false valuations, hidden bankruptcy filings, investor fraud. The ballroom transforms from celebration to chaos. Reporters gasp. Audience members whisper urgently. Security freezes. And then sirens cut through the tension as police and federal agents swarm the venue. Daniel tries to maintain composure first, insisting it's all fabricated. But the officers move in with warrants and handcuffs. His carefully crafted empire collapses in real time, broadcast live to millions. Reporters shout questions wildly. Who exposed you? Which partner betrayed you? Daniel's face twists with rage. He scans the room until he locks eyes with Adrian. Calm, composed, unflinching. And then Daniel snaps. Without thinking, he screams, "You stole my woman just because she chose me." His voice booms through a mic still attached to his shirt, echoing across the hall and straight into every camera. Gasps ripple through the audience. Phones start recording. Headlines begin writing themselves in real time. The fall of Daniel Reeves has gone from corporate fraud to scandal, adultery, betrayal, and there is no escaping it. His own words have turned his criminal exposure into social death. Every camera instantly swings toward Nora. Her glamorous confidence evaporates. She stands frozen, pale, trembling. Her entire social circle, the world she worshipped, watches with disgust, humiliation, and fascination. Her secret affair is no longer a secret strategy, but a public disgrace. Adrian walks toward her slowly, not angry, not heartbroken, but calm in a way that terrifies her. She whispers, "Adrian, please." I can explain. But he doesn't raise his voice or insult her. He simply places a folder in her shaking hands and says loudly enough for the microphones to catch, "You chose him. Now stay with him." Inside the folder, divorce papers already filed, asset protections locked, evidence attached. Nora's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. The world she destroyed Adrian to join has now rejected her. Cameras capture every second. Adrian turns his back on her and walks away, not victorious, but free. The aftermath unfolds slower than the explosion that caused it. Nora arrives at Adrian's temporary apartment over and over, crying one day, blaming him the next, begging the day after. She cycles through every emotional tactic. Promises a change, swearing Daniel meant nothing, accusing Adrian of giving up too fast, even claiming she cheated because she felt unloved. But nothing lands anymore. Adrian doesn't shout, doesn't curse, doesn't insult her. He's emotionally finished, not numb, not hateful, simply done. His calm is stronger than anger ever could be. The moment that breaks Nora most is when she realizes shouting won't provoke him and tears won't soften him. Ethan, Adrian's closest friend and lawyer, becomes the unavoidable symbol of contrast, loyalty versus betrayal. Ethan stands beside him throughout the process, while Nora stands alone. She finally sees the truth too late. The man she destroyed was the only person who ever truly loved her. Meanwhile, Daniel's empire collapses at the same speed it once rose. With Adrian's evidence and investor testimonies, the court denies bail due to the magnitude of fraud. News banners announced that the so-called business titan was a criminal all along. Nora, once worshipped in high society circles, becomes untouchable. The same elite women who envied her designer dresses and perfect Instagram life now avoid her like she's contagious. Invitations stop. Brand sponsors unfollow. Her reputation evaporates overnight. She tries to reclaim her old image, but can't. The scandal has already rewritten her identity. While Nora spirals socially and emotionally, Adrian quietly leaves a mansion she cared so much about. He chooses a small apartment, not because he needs to downsize financially, but because he wants silence, realness, peace. For the first time in years, he wakes up without pretending. No luxury, no pressure, just a quiet home that feels honest. Healing doesn't arrive all at once. It takes work. Adrian starts therapy, learning to separate love from self-sacrifice. He goes to the gym again, not to impress anyone, but to feel strong in his own body. He reconnects with old friends he lost while drowning in Nora's social world. He finds himself again, not the wealthy CEO, not the broken husband, but simply Adrian. One evening, he opens his email and pauses at a new message. Ava Bennett, Daniel's former fiancée, the woman Daniel betrayed before ever meeting Nora. Her words are short but powerful. You were never the weak one. You were the only one who loved honestly. Adrian reads it twice, then closes his eyes, not as validation, but as closure. For the first time in a long time, he smiles softly, not because life is perfect, but because he's finally free to live at point 6 months later. Adrian sits alone in a quiet coffee shop, writing his journal, not about heartbreak, but about growth, healing, and self-worth. The sunlight reflecting through the window shows how much peace he's found within himself. When Nora walks in unexpectedly, she looks nothing like the confident woman she once was. She is thinner, exhausted, and carrying the weight of her mistakes. She approaches Adrian slowly, eyes filled with regret, and admits through trembling tears, "You didn't deserve what I did to you. I ruined the best thing I ever had." Adrian listens without anger or bitterness. For the first time, he feels absolutely free. When Nora asks whether he ever loved her, he answers softly, "Of course." But love shouldn't be a place where someone loses themselves. His voice is not cold, just firm and honest, coming from a man who is finally healed. Nora gathers the courage to ask one final question, whether there is any chance left for the two of them. For a moment, silence fills the air. Cups clink, people chat, life goes on around them. But their world is frozen in that single question. Adrian doesn't yell, doesn't seek revenge, doesn't try to make her feel worse. Instead, he smiles gently, not from happiness, but from acceptance, and says, "Some people teach us how to love, and some teach us when to walk away." With those words, he stands, places his journal under his arm, and leaves the cafe. No arguments, no dramatic goodbye, just a calm exit of a man who no longer needs closure, because he already found it within himself. The victory is not over Nora, but over the version of himself that once tolerated pain in the name of love. Later that day, Adrian meets Ava, not as lovers, not as a rush replacement, but as two people who survived different storms and learned to rebuild themselves. They sit together in another cozy cafe, sharing light jokes and genuine laughter without pressure or expectation. There are no forced confessions or romantic tension. Just two people who enjoy being around each other, slowly returning to life. As they talk, Adrian feels something he hasn't felt in a long time. Ease. Not intensity, not obsession, just peace. He realizes that healing isn't about winning someone back. It's about winning yourself back. The final line, I didn't destroy her lover to get her back. I destroyed him to get myself back, reflects not revenge against the man who hurt him, but the destruction of the version of himself that once allowed betrayal to define his worth.